jump in. Well, it's nice to be back in the media room after several weeks of. It's been kind of fun to take the roundtable out into the community for the last several weeks for a partial tour of our community improvement program. You will have seen as we've welcomed the WeGo Market over at the plaza between WeGo Central and Municipal Auditorium. We've recognized work to save the lives of infants and mothers through an expanded Nashville Strong Babies program, cut the ribbon on new schools, launched contactless payment on WeGo, and celebrated a decade of work by our Office of Family Safety and their many partners to better support survivors of domestic and interpersonal violence and hold offenders accountable, as well as setting a course to continue moving that work forward. It's been a great opportunity, I think, to demonstrate the power of local investments in our budget priorities of school services and safety. We are in the second week of the new school year for Metro Schools and cut the ribbon on our second new school facility this school year, the significantly renovated Paragon Mills Elementary School. In the next month, we'll cut the ribbon on a third new elementary school. Lakeview Elementary will open on Rural Hill Road in Antioch, and excited to officially welcome students to another upgraded public school facility. And at every one of these ribbon cuttings, you get to see the joy and excitement for so many people in the school community. There are teachers who get new and upgraded classrooms and updated technology, staff who are taking pride in caring for the new facilities, parents who know their children are going to safe, clean, modern schools, and most importantly, the students. Because when we've given students access to the best schools to learn in, we're seeing that their performance improves. And so one of the headlines this semester for Metro Schools is that for multiple years in a row, TCAP scores have improved at rates faster than almost all peer school districts across the state. Enrollment is up, student performance is up, and it is a great time to be a Metro Schools family. The Panthers of Paragon Mills are a diverse student body where we've seen improving student performance in recent years, and they're now one of 4 schools with new magnet designations. Glenview Elementary, Paragon Mills, Stratton Elementary are now all dual immersion Spanish magnet schools where students, both native English speakers and native Spanish speakers, learn all subjects in both English and Spanish. Dual immersion is an important skill for today's workforce, and children who are going through these programs have shown to have better memory, problem-solving skills, and attention control, as well as a deeper appreciation for different cultures and perspectives. The recently renamed Dinkins Middle School, what was previously Brick Church, is now an early college magnet school. And getting to school is getting a little bit safer for kids in Nashville. At the start of summer, our Nashville Department of Transportation identified 16 schools for improved crosswalks, and they were able to actually move faster and at lower cost to do a few more. Work is finished on most of those sites, and we're continuing to push forward critical pedestrian safety improvements like these through INDOT's regular program, bolstered further by our Choose How You Move implementation and Vision Zero programs. Communities have been asking for these improvements, and we're pleased to be able to deliver them. The crosswalks are a great neighborhood improvement that elevates how we feel about our communities and move safely in them, but we're also doing some other great collaborations. The new Parkwood baseball fields are a similar improvement for that community, and we just cut the ribbon on those fields this week. It was a long time coming celebration thanks to a partnership between the Mayor's Office, Councilmember Quante Toombs, Metro Parks, and Habitat for Humanity, who pulled together a great project with affordable housing, a new park, and new ball fields for the Parkwood All-Stars, who just won third in the Little League World Series. It was another hot week here in Nashville. There's still a few weeks left to apply for the Metro Action Commission's summer cooling program, which provides free fan and or air conditioning units to qualifying residents. This program runs through August 31st. More information is available at nashville.gov/MAC. The Metro Action Commission supports so many elements of Nashvillians' lives, from the cooling program I just highlighted to their Power Youth Initiative, which this summer connected more than 1,000 young people to jobs and internships. And today I'm also pleased to announce the hire of Jamaica Beese as the new Executive Director for the Metro Action Commission. She comes to Nashville from Alabama and brings with her a wealth of experience across nonprofit, human services, and education sectors. She's a thoughtful leader who I'm excited to welcome as the Executive Director of one of our most critical service departments. MAC is critical to ensuring that more Nashvillians can stay and thrive in Nashville, and I look forward to working with Jamaica to do that work, especially given her vast experience in early childhood education. Her first day will be officially on September 29th. We've touched on schools and services, so I wanted to round it out with A quick note on safety. On Saturday, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, or CALEA, awarded MMPD the Advanced Law Enforcement Reaccredited with Excellence. The designation will be in place for 4 years. This marks 31 years of continuous accreditation of the MMPD by CALEA. Crime continues to decline in Nashville. Incidences of violent crime and property crime are down year over year. We've had 10% fewer homicides, 8% rape declines, 21% fewer robberies, 15% fewer burglaries, 6% fewer auto thefts. We are almost green across the board, and we're continuing to focus on that. Safety remains a priority. It is something that begins with all of us, and I'll just end with a note that applications are now open for the 55th session of MMPD's Community Police Academy. The academy, which will be held at the Madison Precinct primarily on Tuesday evenings, gives residents an inside look at the various aspects of the Metro Nashville Police Department's work. The academy runs for 11 weeks beginning on September 9th. It's a great opportunity to learn more about how the department works and how our roles as community members can help our neighborhoods and our first responders. With that, happy to take questions. Okay, it's a very quiet room. Stephen. I'd say there's probably some of both in it. We've maintained a focus on keeping response time improvements in place. We've made some alternative policing initiatives that keep officers out on patrol. We have done a lot of work to improve accountability. I know Chief Drake really does try to adhere to one of his 3 chief pillars of community engagement. And so I think as we keep levels of trust and confidence high in traditional policing while we also look at co-response models, I think we're innovating on the ground. And I think a lot of other cities are doing that too. I know there have been a lot of headlines recently about work on the ground in Baltimore. And sometimes you do see national patterns. We saw during COVID there were large national increases in homicide rates. I think those have fallen off. I think so some of it is background effects post-pandemic, but we also can see when the department and our office of performance management are looking at the data, we see some good correlations with response times and overall crime reduction. So we're going to continue looking at those staffing models and approaches and techniques and looking at what works and trying to do as much of that as we can. Cynthia? I haven't seen the announcement of the coalition for me. I know all 3 of those organizations have spoken in public. I know they've come to public meetings that have happened on that. I'll say we have not reached final design decisions on the East Bank Boulevard. I think we continue to look to the authority, the overall East Bank team that's in place, NDOT, and getting choose how you move off the ground and making sure a set of balanced priorities is in effect. We will continue to engage with all the organizations you just listed, though, as we continue to think about design. I'll come back to Megan. I'll come to you next, Austin.
So with the crime rates going down, sometimes and actually Chief Drake a couple months mentioned that sometimes when the violent crimes start going down, but some of the residential theft stuff goes up, it feels like less safe to people even though the violent crime numbers are down. So are you guys going to address any of those things that really directly impact residents of Nashville to help them feel safer? And can we also talk about some of the overdoses and maybe how, if there's an update on how we're approaching them? Because I know that there's some lacing with some drugs where they can't actually reverse it with Narcan.
Yeah, I'll try to tackle both questions. So we do talk about that, and I guess where we are is we're down in all categories of crime right now except one. So I think they're seeing blanket reductions, which is a really good place to be. One thing Chief Drake, who was over in our office actually earlier this morning, highlighted is that non-lethal shootings are actually down more than 40%. And so that's, again, I think they have looked at some specific approaches, linking your question to Stevens, that have helped lead to that reduction. But we are sensitive to it. We don't want it to just be violent crimes. I think if you've looked at conversation of the Metro Council over the past few months, they have wanted to see more enforcement on everything from traffic and noise, and so there are always competing priorities in that. But I think broad looks at safety and making sure that people both are safe and feel safe is a top priority. With opioids and other related things with drugs, we continue to be pleased that we are seeing downward trends in opioid-related deaths, but I know there are complications with anything that, you know, where mixes of illegal substances wind up, you know, creating other complications. I will say our Behavioral Health and Wellness Advisory Committee, the Metro Public Health Department, are working still very closely with the Office of Nightlife, with Metro Nashville Police Department. I will say Office of Nightlife and MMPD have had great success with expansion of availability of Narcan. I know it's not always it's not a panacea for overdose-related deaths or you know, medical events, but I think it is helping us with those cases where it is reversible, so we're pleased with that. We're going to keep an eye on it. I know Metro Public Health Department looks closely at all of those things that you know, are epidemiological in nature, and so we'll continue to have updates. Yep, awesome.
I've got another East Bank question for you. So with the sale earlier this week of the PSC metal site, I know that in the past, previous national mayors have been pretty vocal about wanting to see some movement on getting that metal recycling business out of downtown.
Yep.
So, and when you think about East Bank as it develops as well, it's a pretty significant piece of the puzzle. So I just wanted to ask if, from your perspective, you're excited to see that move, and now there's kind of that thing checked off of the list.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I'm very aware of how this has been a priority, not just for former mayors, but I think for Nashvillians who know that that portion of the Cumberland River riverfront may be better suited to something other than a scrap metal site. So yeah, very excited about that. I'll say provisionally excited. I think the price point suggests it may be something more exciting and interesting than a scrap metal site going forward. But we were lucky to have the Imagine East Bank process, even when I was on council, play out in a way that was comprehensive in outlook. It does include that portion of what is now the scrap metal site in its outlook. It is obviously privately held, does have a high price point on it, and I'm looking forward to engaging with the new owners, but we know it'll be private land and privately developed. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go back to Cynthia's question, Stan, East Bank. A couple months ago, Anna told us that there would be a meeting in August after some more traffic data had come in, where they were running some simulations about different models to help make that final decision about what that East Bank Boulevard would look like. And that the mayor's office and planning, East Bank Authority would get in a room in August to talk about what the traffic data said. Has that meeting happened yet? And have you personally, as a longtime pedestrian cyclist advocate, expressed a preference between the scenarios for the East Bank Boulevard, either or privately in meetings like that, or publicly on the
There's been a preliminary review, but I will say we want to make the right long-term decision, and I guess I would say it this way, we're evaluating all of the potential scenarios. I will say it's been really helpful to bring Sabrina Sussman's perspective into this as the new director of the implementation of Choose How You Move. But I also think it's still ultimately early going, and so we're looking at everything from, you know, right-of-way constraints to, you know, what fits within a constrained right-of-way. So we expect this to be an ongoing policy discussion and an ongoing community discussion. And no, I haven't said, basically what I've said is we do need as complete data as we can have, and then we get to work on the best design from that.
Why don't you favor, as a lot of people assume you would, the scenario that would minimize car traffic lanes and maximize pedestrian and cyclist infrastructure?
I wouldn't say I've taken a position on it yet. The reason I'm not jumping out in front of that is because I do want to understand sort of what the full needs are and look at all the uses we expect there. And I will say it is a true priority for us to get a reference standard implementation of transit on the East Bank. We know that as we evaluate all of our all-access corridors, we're going to be looking at trade-offs. I'll say too, I think the boulevard is only one piece of an entire network of public rights-of-way that are embedded in the East Bank, and we think that even as second goes to construction, you're going to start to see things on the ground that are new approaches to infrastructure that we have not always been consistently successful with. Yeah.
And Governor Lee said he had conversations with you about the tunnel. Can you kind of characterize those conversations that you've had?
Yeah, they were informal and advisory. I mean, they indicated to us with TDOT that they expected this to be a significant initiative, and that's about where they were.
And what about the boring company? Have you spoken with them?
I have not directly engaged with the boring company.
Those questions that you sent to the boring company, are any of those the most pressing or most concerning to you?
I think for us, as we look at it, they're in almost everything, there's no more pressing concern than safety, and so I think that's a big piece of it. But I will also say, as we evaluate the full implementation of Choose How You Move, we absolutely want to make sure that if something is happening below the surface, it doesn't disrupt anything we are doing on the surface, whether that is higher capacity modes of transit, full implementation of infrastructure above ground, and the planning processes that come along with that, because we have already been looking at airport access. The Greater Nashville Regional Council just recently highlighted airport access as a bigger regional issue. And I will say this is one approach. It's not going to solve all of the things that are regional needs for the airport. We think our overall Choose How You Move implementation is going to be regionally important and impactful, and so we're focused on how we can continue to deliver that. We'll do last one. Oh, let me get the RSLA just real quickly.
Recently, TURT announced lawsuit against THP for not being transparent and turning over those documents that they asked for. Wondering if your office has followed up with perhaps ICE about those detentions that happened in May, and whether you guys have received any updates, and whether you would urge THP to maybe do the right thing in TURT's eyes.
We have not, to my knowledge, had any response to our request. I know Director Dietz had indicated that he was considering looking at records requests, so we will be following Turk's lawsuit very closely. We would expect that both THP and ICE would be sufficiently transparent.
And one last one. WeGo has a hiring event next week. Wondering if there's a concern about maybe not enough bus operators in Choose How You Move's implementation going forward.
I think any expansion, you need to make sure that you're going to have workforce for it, and that's public sector and private sector. But I'll say this, the hiring event is specifically because they know they've expanded. Even just our first Choose How You Move expansion of service in July means we're already increasing frequency. They're trying to be ahead of the curve, so I think they're doing strategic hiring approaches, and I think we're doing everything we can to help them with recruitment and retention and making sure they've got a great overall team. All right, thanks everybody.